Hola, happy Sunday. If you notice, I don't have a mic on today. The reason I don't have a mic on is because there's no purpose, because the mic isn't working. For the past few weeks, the mic has not worked. And whoever told me last week that the mic was working, somebody in the chat told me that the mic was working. And they're like, yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. I don't hear any background noise. Guess what? After I got off the live and I watched the live, the mic was not working. So I'm like, yo, you think the mic? I was telling that person during the live, I was like, are you sure the mic is actually working? Or are you just able to hear me? Because if the mic isn't working, you can still hear me pretty clearly through the built-in iPhone mic, the mic that's built into the iPhone. Even if the mic isn't working, like my actual mic that I plug up isn't working, you'll still be able to hear me through the built-in iPhone mic. And that's exactly what was happening. But that person was thinking that the mic was working. And I'm like, man, I don't know what I got to do to get this mic to work. Because, like I said, it works everywhere else except my YouTube lives. Whenever I go live on YouTube, my mic doesn't work for some reason. So yeah, I'm still trying to troubleshoot that, and until I can get that situated, I'm just not going to use the mic. As long as y'all can hear me, that's all that matters. Just hopefully my neighbors don't like be loud or nothing, or nothing outside is loud, because that's what the mic is for, to block out that background noise. So thankfully it's quiet right now, and I'm praying that it stays quiet during this live. So yeah, today's message is going to be about toxic parents, and what inspired this message was me getting some backlash on a short video I posted, pretty much saying that your child is not your retirement plan. If you're having children with the expectation that, oh, if I have kids and I'll be able to have somebody take care of me when I get old, you're expecting to, when you get old, you expect to just move in with them and them take you in as a dependent and fully take care of you. And I pretty much said in that video that that's selfish. If a parent has that expectation of their child, that's selfish. And there was people like going against me, like saying like, you're wrong, you're selfish, that's wrong, your parents took care of you, so you're supposed to take care of them when they get old. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And this video is going to pretty much explain why I don't agree with that. Now, let me first say, when I say you're not obligated to take care of your parents when they get old, I am not saying if you have elderly parents that can't really move around or do a lot of things on their own, that means, oh well, you're going to have to just figure it out. Like, no, you should. If you live close enough to your parents, like you don't live in a different state, and you're like, if they need you to pick up something, or they need you to help them with something around the house, or even if it's you checking on them, if you checking on them a few days out the week, running little errands for them, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. If you have a good or at least a decent relationship with your parents, when they get to that age and they're not able to do certain things on their own, you should help them. I'm not going to say you're obligated, but I'm going to say you should, right? But when I say you're not obligated to take care of your parents when they get old, what I mean by that is you're not obligated to move them in with you and become their full-time caretaker and provide for them and pretty much have them kind of as your child. Like, pretty much like some parents really believe, once I get old, I'm going to just move in with my kid and they're going to take care of me. They're going to feed me. They're going to shelter me. They're going to do everything for me as if I'm their child, because when they were a child, I took care of them. So now it's their turn to pay me back. And that's what I said. No, I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. Now, if you want to do that, here's the thing. If an adult child wants to take in their parent and they are in a position to take in their parent, If they want to and they're in a position to, they can afford to. They can afford to and they can mentally handle all that comes with that. And they have enough space in their house for that, like to, move their parent in and they want to. There's nothing wrong with that either. I think that's beautiful. But here's the thing that a lot of people who gave me backlash and said, "Oh, you're selfish," da da da. Here's the thing that a lot of them are not taking into account. Everybody doesn't have the same parents. Everybody doesn't have good parents or even decent parents. And I feel like people who have that opinion that when your parents get old, you have to take care of them no matter what. Like, I feel like people who have that belief, 9 times out of 10, they have good parents. They have at least decent parents that didn't really like cause a lot of trauma to them. They took care of them. They were a safe space. Like I said, they at least have decent parents, but most of the time they have good parents. So they can't fathom how an adult child would say, "I ain't taking care of my parents when they get old." They can't fathom how somebody would say that because they have good parents to where they do feel obligated to take care of them. But it's not because their parent made them feel that way. They feel that sense of responsibility because of how much their parents have done for them and how much they love their parent and how much their parents were there for them and took care of them and nurtured them. But here's the thing, again, everybody don't have the same parents, so it's not right for you to judge the children that don't feel that way about their parents because you don't know their story. You don't know their history. And for the people who say, "Well, it doesn't matter what they did, that's still your parent, that's still your mom, that's still your dad." Where was that energy when they were mistreating me and not being a safe space for me? And some people were even abused by their parents. I was molested by my father. Not only was he a deadbeat, he also molested me as a toddler. And even fast forward to when I was in high school, my senior year of high school. It's a really long, crazy story behind like me being sexually abused as a child and all that. But long story short, for the longest, I didn't remember, to this day, I don't remember being molested. Like, and I thank God for that because I'm sure it would have been a lot harder for me to heal from it if I actually remembered all the details, but I was only 3. But so for the longest, I didn't realize that my dad was the one who molested me as a toddler until I got older, until I was in high school. And I was living with him and his girlfriend for probably like 6 months. My senior year of high school, I was living with him and his girlfriend for like 6 months. And he did perverted things to me then. I don't want to get into all the details, but you can say I, I'm hesitant to say he sexually abused me when I was a senior in high school because I didn't let it go anywhere. Like, I wasn't afraid to put my foot down and be like, "Nah, that's gross. Why would you say that? Or why would you do that? Or why would you try to do that?" So, like I said, I put my foot down. Like, my dad, he's only like 5'7". I'm 5'5". So he's only like 2 inches taller than me. He's like skinny or whatever. So I wasn't afraid of him. I'm like, "Nigga, you better back up." Like, but yeah, he tried to sexually abuse me even as a teenager when I was 18. So that is how I realized and I put 2 and 2 together. Like, he was the one who molested me when I was a toddler because the story back when I was a toddler was one of his friends molested me. But his friends that were with him, they were pointing the finger at him like, "No, no, no. He was the one who was alone with her. We were never even alone with her." But yeah, so like I said, there's a crazy story behind that. I've explained it in other like videos before, but I don't want to get into it today. But long story short, when I don't have a relationship with my father, believe it or not, I do forgive him. I forgive him because I know that he's just sick. I know that he's just sick in the head, and I actually feel bad for him. I feel sad for him because I can't imagine being that sick in the head to where I want to do something sexual with my child. Any child, but especially my child. Like, so yeah, I kind of feel sad for him. Like, damn, like I would hate to be you. And I truly do forgive him. However, just because I forgive him don't mean I'm ever gonna have a relationship with him. We will never reconcile. I don't hate him, but I also don't love him. Like I don't really feel anything towards my father. But yeah, do you think I'm going when he gets old or he gets to an age where he needs help and he can't really take care of himself? Do you think I'm gonna take care of him? Respectfully, no. I'm not. He gonna have to just figure it out himself because guess what? He wasn't there for me when I needed him. And even on top of that, even aside from that, like I said, he was a pedophile. Like he was a predator. Like he, did things to me that you should never do to your child. Any child, but especially your child. So yeah. So and that it goes back to what I was saying about people calling me selfish and pretty much demonizing me for saying, look, you don't have to, you're not obligated to take care of your parents when they get old. Like they shouldn't be treating you as their retirement plan. They should have that stuff in place before they get old. Like I'm sorry, I feel like depending on your child to take care of you, that's selfish. That's wrong. And I hate the argument that, oh, well, they brought you into this world, they took care of you. That was their choice. They chose to have a child. I didn't choose to be born. And even though I don't have kids and I don't plan on having kids, I won't have biological kids, but I will have step kids because my man has kids from his previous marriage. But yeah, I don't plan on having any biological kids. But if I did, I was thinking about this way before I even thought to do this message. I would always think to myself, when I get old, I wouldn't even want to live with my kids because I'm being considerate of the fact that they have their own life. They might have their own kids and their own husband or wife or whatever. And I don't want to be a burden to my kids. And I want my kids to have their freedom as adults, to be free to live in their house and run their house however they want without feeling like I'm gonna intervene or like I'm gonna be in the way. Like I've always thought that to myself. There was never a point in time when I used to want kids, when I used to say, like, oh, I'm gonna have a kid one day. I never thought to myself, when I get old, I'm gonna just move in with my child. No, I'm not. As a matter of fact, I don't want nobody to have to take care of me. I want to be able to get around and move around on my own. And it is possible. That's another thing. People think like, oh, when you get old, like it's just a part of aging for you not to be able to walk around and drive and do things on your own. No, it's not. That's a result of you not taking care of yourself for decades. If you're and this is the thing, I'm going to pretty much talk about like toxic parents, but it's a couple other things I want to touch on since I'm here. There are people in their 70s and 80s who are in the gym, lifting weights, active. They can drive on their own, they can cook, clean, get around, go up and down stairs. They don't have no caretaker. They don't have nobody. They can do all those things on their own, even at their age. Why? Because they took care of themselves when they were young and they kept up those habits. They stayed active. Even as they got older, they stayed active. They stayed in a gym or doing some type of sport. And that's why those people, even though they're technically elderly, they don't carry themselves like that. They're still able to fully take care of themselves. First of all, that's how I'm trying to be. That's why I never had that thought of like, oh, my kids are going to take care of me. And because here's the thing, even if you do take good care of yourself as you get older and you're active and you eat healthy, some things you cannot control. Like you maybe get dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. So there are some things that as you age, it could happen to you, even if you take care of yourself. Doesn't mean it will, but it could. And I've thought about that, and I'm like, well, look, I'm gonna hire a caretaker, somebody that actually gets paid to do that, and that is their profession. I'm gonna just make sure while I'm young, I'm stacking up my money and putting all those things in place so that I can have that covered once I'm old and I don't have to worry about depending on my child to take care of me when they have so many other things that they're juggling. Like I said, they might have their own kids and their own spouse and having their own career, and it's only 24 hours a day and you're gonna sleep about 7 to 8 of those hours. So it's like I don't want to put all that on my child. I'm sorry. Like if people think I'm selfish for thinking that way, it is what it is. But like I've said a million times before, kids don't ask to be born. So yeah, I don't feel like your child owes you anything except respect. The only thing your child owes you is respect. And that's if you are, and that's if, like I said, you're a decent parent. Like, I'm gonna be real, I don't respect my father. I don't respect him, but I also don't deal with him to actively disrespect him, if that makes sense. Like, if my father was in my life, I'm gonna do my best to not disrespect him. But because I don't respect him, he's not in my life. But I'm also not disrespecting him because again, he's not around for me to disrespect him. But yeah, if you're at least a decent parent, the only thing your child owes you is respect. Anything else they do for you is a bonus, and you should be grateful, not entitled. But yeah, everybody doesn't have the same parents, and some parents will use that title of I'm your mom, I'm your dad. Some parents will use that title as a way to manipulate their kids and get them to do what they want. And that's another reason why I don't agree with the whole like, oh, when you get old, you're supposed to take care of your parents. It depends. My response to that, it depends. Now, I share things about my dad. Um, so as much as I'm hesitant because I feel like all of us in general, unless you had a terrible mom, like extremely abusive, like crazy, I think for the most part, even if our mom wasn't the best mom, I feel like in most cases we have a little more of a soft spot for our mom because in most cases our mom did more. Our mom was the one who was there more than the father 9 times out of 10. That's not always the case, but even if your father was in your life, I'm sure you can say your mom probably still was there more and did more and was more hands on. So I feel like most of us, we have more of a soft spot for our mothers. And if you think about it, that's because they're the ones that brought us here. We was all growing in our mom's belly for 9 months and they brought us, into the earth. So that's probably why we tend to have a little more grace and empathy for our moms. So yeah, that's why I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little hesitant to talk about things with my mom because let's be clear, my mom wasn't the best mom. And to this day, we don't have the best relationship. It's been very up and down, very rocky, and it's always been like that. Um, but let me be clear, I love my mother to death. I not always like her, but I love her to death. With that being said, I wouldn't, when my mom gets old, first of all, let me say this. My mom's only 15 years older than me. My parents had me when they were teenagers. So my mom ain't even that much older than me. I'm 33, she's 48. When she's 60, I'm gonna be 45. When she's 70, I'm gonna be 55. When she's 80, I'm gonna be 65. So it's like I ain't that far behind her. So I'm like, girl, we gonna have to take care of each other. But nah, on a serious note, I I told my mom like, you gonna have to figure your stuff out now because I'm not taking care of you when you get old. And what I mean by that, I'm not going to allow her to live with me and my husband or whatever. I'm not going to allow her to move into her house and live with us. And we just take on the financial load that comes with taking care of her, like pretty much being our dependent. I told her, I said, I'm not doing that. And some people might be like, but that's your mom, da da da. Okay, here's the thing. My mother, and I'm not even going to see, and here's the thing. Before I say what I'm about to say, let me say this first. All the things that happened in my childhood, like, yeah, I have a lot of childhood trauma and things, that she did, and just me, the main thing is me having to take on so many responsibilities as a child. I had to take on adult responsibilities as a child. I I didn't get to fully enjoy my childhood because I was the oldest. I was pretty much like the second parent. Like my mom, she wasn't home a lot. Sometimes it's because she was working. Sometimes it's because she was partying. Like she was living her life. So we were at home alone a lot. And me being the oldest, I was pretty much like the second mom. And there would be times where I would be like, Mom, I want to do XYZ. I want to go here, da da. And she'll be like, Well, what about your brothers? Where are your brothers going to go? Like me being a little ass kid telling my mom, Hey, I want to go to this sleepover. I want to go. And she would say, Well, where are your brothers going to go? Who's going to watch your brothers? In my little kid brain, I'm like, You, what the hell? I didn't have them. You should be watching your son. Like, why is that responsibility on me? But it was because she had plans. She wanted to go out. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, I've always had, ever since I was a child, I've had to sacrifice for other people. I had to sacrifice for my brothers. I had to sacrifice for my mother. I was the one who was responsible for waking everybody up in the house. When it was time to get up for school and work or whatever, I was the first one up and I was the one that was responsible for waking everybody up, including my mother. Usually it's the parent that is having to wake up the child. But no, I was the one. I was responsible. I was the one that was expected to wake everybody up because I was always very responsible since I was a child. But I'm sure it's because I had to. Um, so yeah, I was always the one waking up my mom and my brothers, helping my brothers get ready for school. And when we got home, making sure they did their homework, making sure they took a bath, making sure I cooked for them. So ever since I was a kid, I've had to sacrifice so much. And it's still going on to this. Not to that extreme because now I'm an adult and I don't live with, my brothers anymore, whatever. And they're grown. Like we're all grown. But well, my one of my brother, he one of my brothers, he passed away in 2020. Unfortunately, he committed suicide. So now it's just me and my youngest brother, but again, he's grown. So yeah, like I don't live with him anymore. But my mom, and I'm saying this with the utmost respect, but I'm just being honest. I'm not going to tell y'all everything about my mom and our relationship and certain things she's done because, like I said, I love my mother and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus. I love her to death. So there is a part of me that wants to protect her. And so, I don't want to tell too much of her business. But what I will say is, she is still very irresponsible. She's still very irresponsible, still very bad at managing her money, and just reckless and careless with a lot of things. And even as an adult, I've had to be the one to bail her out of a lot of sticky situations that she's put herself in. Um, Ever since I've been an adult, I have not asked my mother for a dime. I have not been like, Mom, can I borrow this much? I have not asked my mom for nothing. Since I turned pretty much 17 or 18, I asked my mom for nothing. I've been taking care of myself completely. But my mom, on the other hand, I've had to I've had to I've had to give her a lot of money over the years. Like I've had to, it's either me giving her money or her borrowing money. And there was a point in time she was making a lot of money. She would come up on lump sums of money. And when I would tell her, like, hey, like, you should save some of that, invest some of that, like, you should put some away. And she'll be like, oh, I can do what I want. I'm grown. Like, yeah, I don't need you to tell me what to do. And I'll be like, okay, but don't you want to make sure that you don't keep living in the same cycle? Like, it's like you'll have a lot of money, you'll blow the money, and then it's back to, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills, or oh, if I don't pay my rent, I'm gonna get evicted. Oh, like it's like that same cycle. You come up on a lot of money that you could really change your life if you did the right thing with the money. But you blow it, you spend it. It's just reckless, careless. And then you back in that position of being in survival mode and robbing Peter to pay Paul. And my mom has been stuck in this cycle for honestly, she's probably been stuck in this cycle all my life. But as far as me being aware of her being in this cycle, it's been like a decade and a half. It's been at least for the last, I'm 33. It's been at least for the last 15 years of her being in the same cycle of mismanaging her money, being irresponsible, being careless, making all these poor decisions. And guess who always has to come in and save the day and swoop in? Me, the oldest daughter. The oldest daughter. And even in, I was able to handle it when we were living in different states. Because I'm not like, it's not in my face. Like, we live in different states. I might get a phone call or a text, but it's like, I don't have to be around. I don't have to be around it. But in 2024, she, let's say she got into a situation where she had to leave the state that she was living in and she had to move to where I live, and not just move to the same city, but she had to move in with me. Mind you, I live in a 1 bedroom apartment. She had to move in with me, and I did not want her to. I did not want her to. I wasn't like, yeah, mom, come on, I'll take you in. I didn't want to because I know how my mother is. She is extremely irresponsible, reckless, careless, and we bump heads a lot. We bump heads a lot. My mother has a lot of things that she needs to work on that I don't think she realizes. Like, she has a lot of unresolved trauma. She It's a lot of things about my mom that she really needs to work on herself. Let me just say that. And I don't want to say that like she like, oh, I'm just perfect, like, because I'm always working on myself. But the thing is, she's not aware of the things that she needs to work on. It's like she's just completely oblivious to it. And it's frustrating to deal with. And it was easier for me to deal with her at a distance, us living in different states. But once she was literally under the same roof as me, I felt like I was gonna lose my mind. Like, not exaggerating. Like, and I was conflicted because I'm like, I'm trying to do the right thing and allow my mom to stay with me because I know she don't really have nowhere else to go at this point. But at the same time, me trying to do the right thing and oh, I'm gonna let my mom stay with me in my little 1 bedroom, and we already don't really get along. We butt heads on certain things. Like, we bump heads a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some things we connect on and we bond on and we laugh and we, have great conversations. But overall, it's a lot of this. And she triggers me. Like, she really triggers my anxiety. Like, just being around her, even talking to her on the phone, it makes me very anxious. Like, I get shaky. Like, my heart starts beating fast. Like, I don't enjoy or look forward to talking to her. And I feel bad about that. I be feeling bad, but it's like I can't help how I feel, but it's not like I don't feel this way for no reason. It's because of, it's like, I guess you could say I'm just fatigued. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. It it's gotten to a point where I guess I'm just, I guess I've reached my breaking point, I guess you can say, because it's not like, oh, she just made a couple of mistakes and like I'm still holding a grudge and I'm not forgiving her. No, it's been, like I said, at least, really, if you want to be technical, it's been going on since my childhood. Because think about what I mentioned earlier, me having adult responsibilities as a child that I shouldn't have had to carry, me having to be the one to wake everybody up in the house every morning to get ready for school and get ready for work, me being the one to have to go wake up my mother to get up to get ready for work. And it's not like I'll be like, hey mom, it's 7 o'clock, it's time to get up. No, I would go try to wake her up. She'd be like, like pretty much like get off me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back in like 5 or 10 minutes and I'm gonna try and wake her up again. Like it would be like that. A child should not have to be, that's almost like the child having to be the parent. So when people like me, maybe people who have similar situations or dynamics with their parents, when people like us say, nah, I'm not taking my mom in when she get old. She gonna have to figure it out. It's not because we're evil or we're selfish, it's because we have to do that for our sanity. Because let me go back to my mom having to stay with me here, like in this present time, like when she was staying with me, I felt like I was losing my mind to the point where I was having suicidal thoughts. I was having suicidal ideations because I felt trapped in my own home. I felt trapped. I didn't feel free. Like my nervous system was completely out of whack. And when I was talking, like this is um I'm trying to think of this. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, I was gonna say, my man, that's when he came around at the height of us like going at it. And we was really like having like because it was certain things that certain choices and decisions that she was making that was having a negative impact on me. And not because like, oh, I care. No, it was literally the things that she was doing was it started to trickle over into my life. I don't want to get into the details of how, because like I said, I don't want to share too much of my mom's business. I'm not trying to throw her under the bus. But it was certain mistakes she was making, decisions, whatever you want to consider it. She was making a lot of dumb decisions. And those decisions had a domino effect on my life, especially with her staying with me. So, yeah, I feel like I was literally about to lose. I'm like, bruh, the only way, if she does not leave soon, I'm going to jump off a cliff. I'm going to jump off a building because I literally feel like I'm losing my sanity. And my man, he was when like he came around at the height of that. That's when we first started dating. That was at the height of me and my mom going at it. And he saw how much of a negative effect that had on me. And he was like, I don't like seeing you like this. Like you're tense, you're on edge. Like, I don't like seeing you like this. And as soon as she left, he was like, there was a switch. As soon as she left, there was a switch that I saw. You instantly got lighter. Like your energy was lighter. You just seem happier. You just seem more at peace. You're laughing and goofing off more. This is the Kyla that I know. Like this is who you really are. This is what I like to see. So the fact that he could even tell, like he even saw how that was affecting me. I will never tell somebody that they're obligated to take care of their parent no matter what because that's your parent. Because no, Sometimes a person being like, oh, I'm gonna try to do the right thing and have my parents stay with me or whatever, or even just having their parent in their life. Like a parent might be so toxic and abusive that even just having them in your life, even if they don't live with you, having them in your life is a detriment to your mental health and your well-being. But let's take it back to just taking your parents in. I know for me, because I got a little taste of that, that was very detrimental to my mental health and to my well-being. As much as I wanted to do the right thing, and I did for over a year. She was staying with me on and off for over a year. So technically I did sacrifice myself and just suck it up and did the right thing. But guess what? I was this close. I was this close. And I'm not exaggerating. I would actually be talking to my man about this, like, babe, I'm having some dark thoughts. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been having some crazy thoughts, like thinking about buying some cyanide. Cyanide is poisoning. But I was telling him, I was just being completely transparent. Like, I've been having some really dark, crazy thoughts. I've been thinking about buying some cyanide offline and, taking it and ending my life because I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, I don't feel free. I feel like a prisoner in my own home. I feel trapped. And it's not like, oh, this is just a temporary situation. My mother has been in this same cycle, in this same pattern of self-destruction for well over a decade. And like I said, it's probably been going on her whole life. But since I've been aware of it and like been able to see it, it's been probably for the last 15 years, maybe even 20 years. But yeah, so that is why. And mind you, my situation, my relationship with my mom, how we are, that's mild compared to people who have abusive, like physically abusive parents, or parents that are parents that are or were constantly sexually abusing them. Because, like I said, I experienced that with my father, but thankfully it wasn't a repetitive thing. But that's because he wasn't around. But there's people who have even worse parents than mine. It's people who have even more toxic and abusive parents than I did. And I would never tell them, like, oh, you should just have a relationship with your mom because that's your mom. You only get one mom, or that's your dad. You don't. No, I would never tell them that because here's the thing: you don't choose your parents. Unfortunately, you don't get to choose your family. And sometimes your family can be your worst enemy. Sometimes your family can be your biggest opposition. So I don't feel like you should just, oh, that's my family. No, that's your relative. Your family, those are people who actually care about you and are considerate of you and are there for you. Not people that take advantage of you and manipulate you and abuse you and mistreat you. That's not family. Y'all might be blood related, but that's not your family. And another thing that I really don't like is when people say, but the Bible says, honor thy mother and father. Yeah, but let's talk about the scripture that says parents shouldn't provoke their children. Nobody ever quotes that scripture. Honor your mother and father. Yeah, that doesn't mean I have to tolerate abuse. That doesn't mean I have to tolerate being mistreated. That doesn't mean I have to move them in with me when they get old. No, that doesn't mean any of that. Honoring your parents simply means respecting them. But also the parent has to respect their child. Yes, you're the parent, you're the authoritative figure, but respect goes both ways. And respecting somebody is taking that person into consideration, being considerate of their feelings and their well-being. That's respecting somebody. But you also have to respect and love yourself. And that's the thing that I don't like is when people have this mentality that you should just completely sacrifice yourself. You should just completely sacrifice yourself. If you love somebody, you should just Absolutely not. If you have to sacrifice your well being and your sanity, that's not love. That's not love. Love is patient and love is kind. And that has to go both ways. It's not, oh, you just have to love your parent unconditionally because they're your parent. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because by them feeling like I'm obligated to take care of them when they get old, they're placing a condition on me. That's not unconditional love. If your parent has that expectation and obligation that you're going to take them in, you're going to take care of them when they get old, you're going to be pretty much their retirement plan, that is conditional love. You're placing conditions on the child before they're even born, before they're even of age to give consent and say, you know what, yeah, I'll do that, mom. I'll take care of you when you get old. You're automatically having that expectation before they're even born. How selfish and conditional is that? So yeah, that's why I don't like, and some of the most toxic, ungodly parents will use that scripture, honor thy mother and father. And if you have a parent that's like that, hit them with the scripture that says parents should not provoke their children to anger. It's literally a scripture in the Bible that says that. If they want to be quoting the Bible, it's some scriptures that we can quote to be like, hey, you need to check yourself because you're in the wrong. I'm not in the wrong just because I'm not letting you take advantage of me. But, and here's the thing, going back to my mom, and I talk to God about this all the time. If I was well off, if I had a lot of money, I'm doing good, I got a lot of disposable income, I still wouldn't move my mom in with me and like fully take care of her. But I would pay for her to have her own apartment or for her to live at like assisted living. Or I would pay for her to like have a caretaker come over and check on her and like, whatever she needs. If I had the resources, if I had the money, I would do that in a heartbeat. Regardless of me and my mom not having the best relationship, her being irresponsible and making all these poor decisions and not doing the right thing with her money, despite all that, if I had the money, if I had the resources, I would do that for my mother because back to what I said, I love my mother to death, despite her flaws and imperfections. However, I'm not going to bend over backwards. I'm not going to overextend myself when, like I said, we don't have the best relationship and she hasn't been the best mother, respectfully. And even aside from that, we don't get along. Like our personalities clash. And there's a lot of things that she doesn't realize about herself that she needs to work on. And until she works on those things and changes, we could never live under the same roof. And we until we go to therapy together, I told her like we need therapy together. That's the only way our relationship is going to get better is if we go to therapy together. Like, but yeah, if those things don't happen, unfortunately, we'll never be close. We'll never be close. And I pray that things change for the better because, like I said, I love my mother to death. But you know who I love more? Myself. And people can call me selfish or whatever. Yes, I do love myself more than any human. There's no human on earth that I love more than me. And guess what? You should feel that way about yourself. Don't feel like, oh, I have to sacrifice myself. And no, if you're sacrificing yourself at the expense of your sanity and well-being, absolutely not. Absolutely, I don't care what anybody says. You should never do that because guess what? Think about what I said. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was thinking about buying cyanide and poisoning myself. So let's say I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let my mom stay here for as long as she needs. I'm gonna just sacrifice my peace and my well-being and my sanity and my freedom and just let her stay as long as she wants. And then I got to a point that I couldn't take it anymore. But I don't want to kick her out or tell her she has to leave because that's my mom and that's not the right thing to do. But I'm like, you know what? I can't take this anymore. And I end my life. I end up committing suicide. Are y'all gonna be still saying, oh, well, no matter what, you should take care of your parents? You should. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's, people don't realize how deep it is, depending on a relationship you have with your parents or just how your parents are. It is that deep. If you have a good parent or even a decent parent, you don't realize how blessed you are and how much of a privilege that is. And I feel like you should check yourself. You should humble yourself and realize that everybody didn't have the same parents that you had. I wish, there's so many times, I wish that I had a normal mom. Like, even if I have a good dad and even if like, even considering everything my dad did and the fact that he was a predator and a pedophile and a deadbeat and all these different things. If I at least had a good mother that was a safe space for me and that was responsible and took care of her business to where if I need something, I could call and be like, hey mom, can you loan me like $50? Can you loan me like $100? Like, or if I was couldn't afford to live by myself anymore. Okay, I'm moving back in with my mom. I wish I had that. I wish my mom was in that position to where I could lean on her and depend on her. But I also wish we had that relationship. I wish. I want that. But reality is I don't have that. So I feel like people who have good parents, or like I said, at least decent parents, parents that they were responsible. Like if you need something, you can call them and ask them. Like people who have that, it's easy to judge people who don't really feel close to their parents and don't feel like a responsibility for their parents when they get old or anything. It's easy for you to judge because you're you had a different childhood. You had a different experience with your parents. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to bring some perspective. I don't know if anybody who gave me backlash on the short video I made or whatever about you not being obligated to take care of your parents when they get old. I don't know if any of those people that gave me backlash or had negative comments are watching this live. But if you are a person who used to have that mentality and you decided to watch this live, hopefully I opened your mind, and hopefully you can, instead of being so judgmental, you can have more empathy for people who didn't have the best relationship with their parents. Or let's say somebody does have a good relationship with their parents, but they simply can't afford to take their parent in as a dependent. They maybe don't, their house isn't big enough. They don't make enough money to be able to take on everything that comes with that. So they're like, hey mom, we're gonna have to, put you in a facility, a nursing home, whatever. Like, those people aren't wrong either. Those people, like, kids don't ask to be born. None of us asked to be born. But guess what? Every parent chose to have kids. Even if you say, oh, well, I didn't want to have kids, but guess what? You ended up with a kid, which means you chose to have a kid. Period. Period. So stop feeling like your kids gotta pay you back for what you were supposed to do as a parent. Your child doesn't have to pay you back for doing what you were obligated to do as someone who chose to have a child. And also, here's the thing, nobody's perfect, even your parents. So I think we should give them some grace. But if they haven't changed, if it's been the same pattern for years, it's not wrong to cut them off or distance yourself from them. If you have to, if you feel like that's what's necessary for your peace and your sanity, there's nothing wrong with you doing that. And don't let anybody try to be like, oh, but that's your mom. Who cares? Guess what? She ain't acting like a mom. But that's your dad. Guess what? He ain't acting like my dad. So yeah, for my sanity and my peace and my well-being, yes, I'm going to cut them off, or I'm going to distance myself, or maybe you're just going to have boundaries with them. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to say one last thing. There's no relationship, not even the relationship with your parents, that's worth you sacrificing your well-being and your sanity. No relationship is worth you sacrificing your well-being and your sanity. I don't give a damn if it's your parent. Period. Like, you can call me what you want. You can say I'm selfish, whatever. No. The thing is, I spent so much of my life being the opposite, sacrificing myself so much at the expense of my own mental health and well-being. I did it in my last relationship, and guess what? I felt like I was about to lose my mind in that relationship. I was having suicidal thoughts in that relationship, but I kept feeling like love is suffering, love is pain, you got to sacrifice. Absolutely not. If you have to do all that for that person, but they're not the same way with you, that's one-sided. That's not love. That's somebody taking advantage of you. Whether it's your parent, your significant other, your sibling, that's somebody that does not love you but just wants to use you. Now, when it comes to my mother, though, let me be clear. When it comes to my mama, as much as my mom, she has taken advantage of me in certain ways, and she can be manipulative, right? But I know when it comes to my mother, I know that my mother loves me despite those things. But the reason why she doesn't show it fully is because of her trauma, is because of certain things from her childhood. So it goes back to generational curses, what I talked about last week. Let me take a sip of water because I'm losing my voice. But my mom, she's made a lot of mistakes, but there's also instances that I can say, like, yeah, my mom loves me. Certain things that she's done, and even just, I know that my mother loves me. I know that she does, but I feel like my mom doesn't fully love herself. And she's not happy with how her life turned out. And I feel like that affects her ability to love me the way that I need as her daughter. But I believe all things are possible through God. And even though we don't have the best relationship now, I believe and I pray that one day that changes. Because here's the thing, no child, I'm sorry, I don't want to get emotional, but no child wants to be at odds with their parents. No child wants that. But unfortunately, your parents are still just humans, and they have their own trauma and their own issues and things that they never addressed or healed from. And that affects their ability to love us the right way. And, when it gets to a point where your well-being and your mental health is in jeopardy, you have to make that tough decision of either cutting them off or distancing yourself. And it hurts. It hurts because, like, me and my mom have had moments that were loving and beautiful and that I can look back on and smile and laugh about. We've had those moments. And that's why I say I know my mother loves me, because of those moments. But she hasn't loved me the way that I know God intended. It hasn't been the way that God intends for parents to love their children. She hasn't loved me in that way. She's actually hurt me a lot. And because of that, I tolerated a lot for years. And, I've just reached my breaking point where I'm like, no, I'm choosing myself. I'm not sacrificing anymore. I choose myself first. I'm putting myself first now. And, she has even, called me selfish or whatever the case, or demonized me. But I know everything and she knows everything, but I feel like when you're the one dishing it out, it's easier for you to have amnesia about the things that you've done or whatever. But I know everything that I've had to endure, and I know how long that I've had to endure it. And, I'm choosing myself. Whether people call it selfish or whatever, it is what it is. I'm choosing myself. And when my mother was staying with me, we got into this really bad argument. And it was so bad that I literally felt sick to my stomach. I felt nauseous. And I was having chest pains that day. And so yeah, I don't think that a child should sacrifice for their parents just because of the fact that their parents sacrificed for them. If you really love your child, then you want what's best for your child and you care about their well-being. Um so yeah, that's just a little food for thought. Yes. Okay. I got teary eyed, but the tears didn't actually come down. I'm like, man, I don't want to mess up my makeup. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I love you guys. It's a lot of comments. Blah 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 blah. Okay, sorry. It's too many comments for me to like try to reply to. Like it's like all over the place. But I love you guys. Thank you for watching. If this message was helpful, if it spoke to you, if it resonated with you in some way, please make sure you like it. It helps with the algorithm. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.